Beavers are one of the most adaptable native species we have in the UK and are an incredible asset in the fight against climate change. Creating more dynamic habitats creates resilience to the fluctuating temperatures that we've seen over the past couple of years. Changing seasons, times of extreme flooding or potentially drought like we've had this year. Their damming behaviour can slow the flow of water and retain more water upstream for longer. That then creates valuable water sources during those times of drought for both wildlife and people alike. And there are amazing drone images of some other nature reserves across the country where beaver created wetlands appear like an oasis in comparison to the yellowing crispy land that's adjacent. For our beavers, one of the more notable impacts has been their access canals for their lodge have started to dry up with the severe heat and lack of rainfall that we've had over the past few months. This has potentially reduced their activity within that particular lodge, but as I mentioned, beavers are an incredibly adaptable species. We know that they have more than one lodge within the enclosure, and there may even be more that we are just unaware of at this point in time. So with that lack of water access to get into their lodge, the amount of activity that we might see there could potentially be reduced, but they will just find another area or create another area for themselves which has the resources that they need. So although the beavers have been felling slightly larger trees, the majority of the behaviour is focused on things like this. So smaller, previously coppiced willow where the limbs are much more narrow, it's a younger tree, again getting access to that cambium layer, and this is the kind of size of stem that they would be using to construct things like their lodge. So particularly around this area in the southeast corner, we've seen a lot of activity of them going after this previously coppiced willow, removing material and taking it out into the water via a network of channels and beaver canals that they have excavated and engineered themselves. They go through this process of creating these beaver canals to make their lives a little bit easier. So they are creatures of habit. They'll use consistent runs and trails again and again, and getting the material out into the water and moving around via those canals is so much more straightforward and so much easier than lugging it around what you can see is quite a highly vegetated area. A really fantastic addition to the Skew Bridge path have been our new interpretation boards, which document all the way from thousands of years ago what this landscape may have looked like when larger scale animals were around, things like straight tooth, elephant, oryx, elk, wolves, all the way through to the present day where things like beavers, these keystone species, are missing from our landscape, and explaining the process of why it's so important that we bring them back to restore those ecosystems. With the grant funding we received from Anglian Water and the Beaver Appeal, we were able to put in the right infrastructure to bring beavers back to Northamptonshire. With the Wilder Future Fund, we can be even more ambitious about bringing species back just like this and really show you what they can do.